America's in serious, serious trouble. These are not normal times. We're going in for a rough ride. It's a very trying time throughout the world economy. China's in trouble, Germany's in trouble, America's in trouble. And that's my concern. The great battle on the planet Earth is Marxism versus capitalism. In 1965, I was 17 years old. I went to school in New York. I went to military school. And my economics teacher had us read the Communist Manifesto by Marx. That was pretty radical, you know what I mean, to a school teaching Marxism. But rather than study Keynes and Malthus and all this, he had us read Marx. And I realized most school teachers, like my poor dad, were Marxists. Not bad people, don't get me wrong. It's like a religion. And as you know, what Marx said was the abolition of private property was the number one goal. And to this guy, Klaus Schwab, out of Austria, wherever he's at, he says, someday you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. That's what's going on the planet. And a lot of people subscribe to that. So my poor dad was a Marxist. Number two was that workers of the world unite. My poor dad was head of the labor union, teachers union. Today, the biggest union in America, teachers unions. And that's why we have no financial education in our school. The third thing was a graduating income tax was essential for the spread of communism. We were taxed to death now. And America was founded as a tax-free nation. In 1773, we had the Boston Tea Party to kick the bloody English out. But what happened in 1773, the bankers control the world. Like it or not, they control the world.
And they still do.
Yes, exactly.
Banks are smarter than everyone gives them credit for. They have smarter people than everyone gives them credit for.
My poor dad was head of education for the state of Hawaii. Very smart man, good man, big-hearted. But when I read Communist Manifesto in 65, I went, he's a Marxist. Abolition of private property, hated the rich, liked taxes, labor unions. And that's a free country. You can think what you want. And my rich dad was my best friend's father, capitalist. So I had both capitalist education and a Marxist education. So I went to military school to learn all this, you know. I flew for the U.S. Marine Corps in Vietnam, and we killed a lot of communists out there. It was sad. My concern is, as you know, America's going to war again. Because every time the economy goes bad, war starts. So that's what brought Hitler to power back in the early years, you know.
But do you think it's going to happen again?
We're already in it.
Can we explore it a bit? Because that's a bit fascinating to me. I mean, by the way, it's something I'm concerned about. Because when things are going bad for a political movement, let's start a war.
Yes, and you can print more money. I fought in Vietnam twice as a Marine, you know.
Yeah, it's very interesting about, you talk about institutionalized communism, or Marxism perhaps is a better way of putting it, and every version of Marxism. Today it's sort of watered down so you can't recognize it. But it is preeminent in education institutions, whether it's university or schools. Yeah. But they don't label it as Marxist. They sort of
liberal or
they have a different view on it. Well, let's look after everybody sort of thing, you know. We're going to look after you. How is that in America, and why does everybody cop it? Why do you put up with it?
Again, military school, went to school in New York. I had nominations to Naval Academy, Merchant Marine Academy, Army, Air Force, and Coast Guard. And we were taught acta non verba, deeds, not words. So the lesson we were taught as military officers, watch what a person does, not what they say. So if you watch politicians, I don't care what party, watch what they do, not what they say. So the first thing, I'm not Republican or Democrat, the first thing Biden did was he cut the Keystone pipeline from Canada to America. And I'm an oil guy. I went to school, I worked for Standard Oil. I went to school to drive oil tankers for Standard Oil. And the price, I was selling oil under Trump for $30 a barrel. The moment Biden came to office and cut that pipeline, oil went to 130 US. I knew exactly what he's going to do. He wants to create a gap between rich and poor, and that's revolution. As you know, it takes that gap to cause revolution.
Division,
yeah, anger. So America is a very divided, angry country right now, and they can't figure out what's happening. You know, why did Biden cut the pipeline? He didn't have to. The second thing, he just opened our borders and 10 million people streamed across. Watch what a person does, not what they say. So there's so much goofy stuff going on in America. We're so divided right now. It's not safe. It's not good. Well, Bobby Kennedy's a good man. Nobody owns him. And he wrote about this COVID thing and all this. He wrote against Fauci. Big Pharma runs the world, so do the banks, as you know.
Yeah.
So Bobby Kennedy is like his family. You can't buy them. I like Bobby Kennedy. And it's not Republican or Democrat. I just want somebody whose actions speak louder than words. And so Bobby Kennedy took on Big Pharma, which is good. My concern, you know, as Stalin said years ago, he says, it's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the votes. But America's a bad habit of taking out the Kennedys. So they're messing with power and the banking powers, you know, the cartels. The Federal Reserve Bank is not an American bank, it's a cartel of the richest banks in the world. You don't play their game, they stomp on you. So that's my concern. You know, money is power, like it or not.
What do we do about that?
My idea way back when was educate yourself. I learned investing playing Monopoly. And Maria Montessori, she's one of the great educational entrepreneurs. She said, what the hand does, the mind remembers. So in school, I sat there, words went in one ear, out the other, just said nothing. And that was my poor dad, lecture, talk. Whereas my rich dad taught me about investing playing Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, red hotel. So today I own 10,000 rental units and 3 hotels. I also invest in Bitcoin, I use debt, and I use all that. Everything school doesn't teach you. So when I saw your CV, with mortgages and all that, that's essential. But you're messing with fire. It's the golden rule. Who has the gold makes the rule. And the first thing my rich dad said to me, if you're going to be a rich man, you'd better learn 2 things right now. Be an entrepreneur. But he says you've got to learn how to sell. And secondly, you've got to know real estate. Because real estate is debt and taxes. What do you mean debt and taxes? So in 1974, I took my first real estate course and opened my eyes up, because you don't need money to buy real estate and you pay no taxes on top of it. So just before I get out of the Marine Corps, I get a job with Xerox to learn how to sell. So I got sales, and then I understood real estate. So why am I a rich man today? Because I took 2 courses, learn how to sell and learn about real estate. And my poor dad, the PhD, says, go back to school, get your MBA and get your PhD. Then I'd wind up like you.
The depth of their resources, both money-wise, but intellectually, but also data. Their data resources are outrageous, what they know about you. If you're a customer of somebody, a big bank or a big pharma or a big telco, they know everything about your life.
Yep.
They know what you do, where you go, how much you spend, how often, what on, how many times you go to the casino, online casino, gamble. And as this cash disappears, your behaviors, our behaviors become much more available for others to collect data on. Where do you see us going with all this stuff, Robert? I feel like it's closing in on all of us and we can't stop it. Marxism is not only about making sure that no one owns anything, but in fact, we don't even own our own dignity. We will lose all our privacy.
Correct. Well, I think it was inevitable it was going to happen, that money would go crypto. I think I have 70 Bitcoin.
Crypto is good. I'm talking about when banks won't let you deal in cash.
No, what I'm saying is I'm getting off the banking system. So I own a lot of gold and silver, things like that. So I don't want anything they can print. So I own stocks, but in my company, I took them public. My goal was to take companies public on New York, NASDAQ, and Toronto Stock Exchange. I got New York, I got Toronto Stock Exchange. This summer I go public on NASDAQ. So I control the paper, but I'm an entrepreneur. That's trained to do this stuff. Take control of your life. And if you can control your money, you control your life. Years ago, I read a book by R. Buckminster Fuller. It was in '74, Gross Universal Cash Ice. Simply said, your wealth is stolen via your money. So the harder you work for money, more tax you pay, inflation. You put it in the bank, inflation steals it, fees, all that. I'm not against it. I'm saying wake up.
Should I buy Bitcoin today? Bitcoin's at record highs at the moment again. Should I buy these cryptocurrencies? Should I start to step into these environments? When should they invest in these environments? At the height of the market, or is the market going to continue to grow? Or should they seek another one? Like perhaps they should look at Ethereum or some other currency that's cheaper. How should young people approach these markets?
Well, it's very simple. You've got to choose your education. If you listen to a financial planner like a super person, they're going to put you in stocks and bonds are crashing. It used to be bonds were considered safe. Today, they're the most dangerous assets you can put your money into. The S&P 500 is at all-time highs. And my generation, the boomer generation, is getting ready to retire. This little cartoon character, Lucy in Peanuts? And so Lucy would hold the football like this, and Charlie would run up and she'd pull the ball away. I think they're going to do that to the boomers. They're going to steal our pensions. They're already stealing it. So the American baby boom generation is a 50-50 chance won't retire. All they got is their house now, most of them. But homelessness is on the increase. Not bad here yet. But look at San Francisco, the most beautiful cities on earth, very much like Sydney. People are homeless all over the place. They can't afford a house. I went to see it myself. It's terrible. It's spreading all across America. Well, there's no financial education in America. You look at our leaders, most of the people who run our Federal Reserve Bank and our government, they're PhDs, like my poor dad. PhD stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. This guy Bernanke, Fed chairman, when it crashed, he dropped interest rates to 0 and printed trillions. So today, America's in this huge bubble. There's cash sitting everywhere. Stock market's in a bubble, real estate's in a bubble, and all this. How much longer can it go? Today, America's the #1 debtor nation in the world. Every 90 days, they're printing another $1 trillion to cover the shortfall. They're printing more money because our taxes don't cover our expenses. They're printing $1 trillion every 90 days.
Wow.
And then you look at China, Evergrande went down and Market Garden went down. China's going bankrupt, and so is Germany. So, as I say, when America sneezes, Aussie gets pneumonia. And so we're the lucky country, but the world is caving in around you guys. So that's the spooky part. So that's why I say to everybody, buy some silver. Silver's about $20. It used to be 50. And then I like Bitcoin because Bitcoin gets stronger, dollar gets weaker.
This is a correlation.
Yeah. So I own I think 60 Bitcoin or something, not much, but I was buying it at 6,000. It's better that than losing it,
But given that you're sitting on a profit, would you consider cashing it in and taking your profit off the table now?
Well, you're a banker. I borrow against assets.
And can you borrow against your Bitcoin?
Of course I can.
Yeah.
I say gold and silver are God's money because God put it here. But Bitcoin is people's money. It's the blockchain technology. And blockchain technology is basically a ledger, a financial statement. And I'm afraid I don't have any proof of this, but they'll use central bank money to surveil you. That's what China does. So they know what you're spending your money on. If you're buying too many drugs, they'll come after you. You're doing this. So they're going to use our money as a surveillance tool. I'm afraid of that. So that's why I own tons of silver coins. So if push comes to a shove, I'll come pay you in silver.